Okay, so let's dive right into this. Have you ever felt that little jolt of panic? That sinking feeling in your stomach the moment your phone actually starts ringing? If that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. Today, we're going to explore the real psychology behind why so many of us would much rather text than talk on the phone.
It's a really interesting thing when you think about it, right? That ring can feel less like a friendly hello and more like an intrusive demand on your time. So, what is actually going on in our minds when that happens? Why the stress?
Well, it's pretty easy to just slap a label on it and call it social anxiety, but the real psychology is so much more nuanced than that. It really boils down to two big things: how our brains are wired to process information and how we manage our social energy. And here's the most important takeaway right up front. If you'd rather type out a whole long paragraph than pick up a phone call, it doesn't mean you're unfriendly or that you're avoiding people. Nope. It's much more likely a sign that your brain is just built to prioritize a careful, thoughtful response.
This brings us to our very first key psychological driver. It all starts with what we can call the power of the pause. It's all about that deep seated need some of us have to just think before we speak or react.
The core concept here has a fancy name, metacognition, but all it really means is thinking about your own thoughts. It's that little voice inside that lets logic step in and guide you, instead of you just reacting on pure impulse. It's actually a pretty advanced way our brains can work. And you can see exactly how this plays out with texting. You get the input, the message arrives, then, and this is the crucial part, you get the pause. That's where all that metacognition happens. And then you craft your output, a deliberate, thought-out response. A live phone call? It just completely short circuits that super valuable second step. So we really need to reframe this. The ability to pause and delay a reaction isn't hesitation or a sign of weakness. It's a sign of mental maturity and really strong emotional regulation. It's a strength, not a flaw. All right, building right on that idea is our second major point: managing your energy. And this is all about how we deal with the very real thing known as social fatigue. This simple truth is that not everyone gets a jolt of energy from social interaction. For a whole lot of people, even a short, unplanned phone call can feel incredibly draining, almost like you've just run a mental marathon. And just look at this comparison. A phone call demands constant, divided attention. I mean, you're listening to their words, you're trying to interpret their tone, you're thinking about what you're going to say next, and you're managing your own emotional reaction. All of it in real time. Texting, on the other hand, just dramatically lowers that cognitive load. It prevents that burnout and lets you engage when you actually have the energy for it. Okay, this brings us to our final group of reasons, and they all circle around a really fundamental human need: the need for control. We're talking specifically about control over our emotional safety and our personal freedom. For anyone out there who has ever felt misunderstood or maybe even dismissed in a conversation, this quote probably hits pretty close to home. That silence, or in this case, the buffer that texting gives you, it becomes a kind of shield. It's emotional self-protection against accidentally saying the wrong thing in the heat of the moment.
Does this sound familiar to you? You hang up the phone and then you immediately start replaying the whole conversation, asking yourself, ugh, did I say something wrong? Was that weird? If you're an overthinker, you know exactly what this feels like. And that habit is a huge reason why the predictability of a text feels so much safer.
And that is the key right there: control through prediction. Texting lets you go into this sort of calculating mode. You can write something, you can edit it, review it, and try to guess how the other person might react before you even hit send. It's all about managing the anxiety that a spontaneous phone call just unleashes. This all extends to our sense of autonomy, too. A ringing phone can feel like this unspoken social rule that says you have to be available right now on their terms. But a text message, that puts the control over your own time and your own energy right back where it belongs, in your hands. Okay, so let's tie all of this together. What does this preference for texting really mean? Well, it's not about avoiding people. It's about wanting to connect, but on your own terms. It's about looking for genuine understanding, not just settling for simple labels. So, when you boil it all down, if you're someone who prefers texting, it's probably because you place a really high value on these four things: being able to give thoughtful responses, protecting your social energy, making sure you feel emotionally safe, and holding on to your personal autonomy. Let this one really sink in for a moment. You are not broken. You're not weird or antisocial. You are not avoiding connection. You are simply choosing a way to connect that honors your internal world and, most importantly, protects your peace. It really makes you think, doesn't it? And it kind of begs the question, what other little everyday things that we do without a second thought are actually revealing the deep, hidden workings of our own minds? Something to think about.